Howdy, y'all. Name's Clover. For the past 3 weeks, I've been working on my most intensive customizable VTuber model yet, and now that it's complete, I want to sit down with y'all and show y'all the ropes. Whether you're here to understand how the model works, or looking to see if it's got the customization options you like, this video will go through it all. So without further ado, let's get started. So if you've never used VTube Studios before, I do recommend that you go look up some tutorials on how VTube Studios actually operates as a program. But you can import a model by clicking on this button down here where it says import your own model, and then you'll just drag and drop the project file into here. But I already have it in here, so if I type Goblin in the search bar, there it is. Mine shows no icon. By the time y'all get it, it should have an icon. So we'll go ahead and click on it. All right, and what you'll get is this little buddy right here. Just a little grayscale, almost gargoyle looking guy. So we're going to go over to this settings tab right here. And then you're going to go to hotkey settings and expressions up in the top. And this is where we are going to get started. So in order to customize your VTuber model to make it look however you want, we're going to click on this here where it says expression editor, then create new expression and hit select. This is how we get here. And there is an overwhelming amount of options. So I'm just going to go through every single one of these. But basically what you're going to do is go through each option, mess with the sliders, figure out what you like. And then an expression name, I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to just call this my model. You can name it whatever you want. You just need a title for it so that it can save it and you'll be able to quickly toggle on all of your customizations each time you load up your model. But just real quickly, I'm just going to scroll through this real fast so you can kind of see how the parameters look before we actually start customizing. So you'll see here where we got the 2 stars and it says face skin toggles. So everything from this divider to the next divider is literally just dealing with like the skin of the model. And then if we scroll down, you'll see now we got another 2 stars that said body skin toggles. So anytime you see these stars or you see something that says divider, that's how you know that you're going from one section to the other. Some of them have titles and some of them don't. So if we go here, you'll see we got this real long divider. That's because we're still like, this is in the brow toggles and you've got like your one section of brow toggles and then the next and then the next and so on. So you'll just, anytime you get a little lost, look for the stars because they're going to help you figure out where you're at and where you're going. There's a ton, and I mean a ton of toggle options. So you'll see I'm still scrolling and we still got lots and lots and lots of stuff to look at. I want to scroll all the way to the bottom real quick before we start messing with stuff. Because there is also a point of no return. So if we scroll all the way to the bottom there, this right here, when you see this one right here, stop, no more toggles, do not edit past this. Please take heed, because if you mess with anything past this, it's going to mess up your model. So unless you know what you're doing, don't mess with this. So let's go ahead and start customizing the model. I don't have a design in mind while I'm making this. I'm just going to go through each one of these sliders and show y'all how it works. We'll start here where it says skin color. You'll see that these are kind of divided into 2 names, or like almost 3 names, because you've got skin, so you know you're working with the skin, and then you got these 2 lines and it's like, okay, we're working of the color of the skin, and then underneath it'll also have an explanation. Sometimes if I felt like the name of the parameter was still kind of hard to understand, I would put in the subtext here like more of an explanation, so you'll see that and you'll see what I'm talking about as we go on. So this is our color wheel. You just move the slider along until you find a color that you like. We are working with a goblin. I'm gonna do a traditional green goblin. And then we have brightness and saturation. I wasn't sure if I should call this saturation or darkness, but basically the brightness, when you go up, it makes it more white. The saturation, when you go up, it makes it more dark. And you can combine these 2 to get like paler shades of whatever color you're working with. So it's good to kind of mess around with these and find, you know, whatever it is that you like. And whatever. We'll go with this. Just a nice little green. As we're going along, you'll see like this skin color messed with all the skin color. If you like this color and you want it to be on something else, you can actually just copy all these 3 right here. So the color, brightness, and saturation. Just come back to this and you can copy these values and put it into the next thing. It'll do the exact same thing. So here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the line color. So that's the outline if you wanted to change how that looks. If we wanted it to be exactly the same, you could literally just copy all of these values and it will make it exactly the same. So, which we don't want that for this, but just so you have an idea, if you ever need to copy a color, that's how we do it. Let's talk about the half skin toggles. So half skin toggle, with this model, you can actually make a skeleton show. You can show the skeleton, or you can make a whole skelly model, because this model is more than just a goblin. It can be imps, skellies, ghouls, whatever it is you can imagine. There's so much you can do. So if we click on this half skin, when you go right, it uncovers the right side of the face. When you go left, it uncovers the left side of the face. Pretty simple, right? With the rotation here, you can rotate how the skin looks and even change the placement, the Y placement. So that's going to be your up and down is Y. So you can change how that sits on your character. Okay. I'm going to leave a little bit of the skull showing just so y'all can see all the different options, because there are different options for how the skull works as well. But real quickly, I'm gonna actually turn off the half skin just so you can see here we have one that says skin off, and that does exactly what it sounds like. And when you toggle it all the way through, the skin comes off and you're a skeleton. And you'll notice too, the tongue is still in the mouth. And as you get to the mouth settings, you'll be able to decide how you want that to look. So don't worry too much about that. Trust the process as you go through. You'll see different things. You'll see here we have ear adjustments, and it says here moves left ear to skull, moves right ear to skull, which is exactly what it sounds like. So you see here we have like that. And if you go to 0.9, that's about as close as it'll get, and sort of kind of rotted, a little bit to make it kind of look more ghoulish. But if you go all the way to 1, it'll actually make the ear disappear. So if you don't want ears, you can absolutely get rid of them using the ear adjustments. And skeleton color. These, just like the skin, just like every other color slider, you'll be able to adjust however you want. Now we're in the body toggles. So we deal with the skin on our head first, then the skin on our body, and then we start messing with the more specific details, like how you want the face to look, ears, clothing, all that stuff. So again, half skin shows that part of the body, or shows that part of the body. And still a rotation. So just like with the face, we can change how the skin sits, and we can choose how high or low it goes. And of course, we can turn the skin totally off. So again, if you want to just be a skeleton model, you absolutely can with this. Same deal with the arms. Left arm and the right arm is here as well. So definitely a whole lot you can do with this. Your imagination is the limit. All right, so let's talk about the eye toggles. When dealing with the eyes, brows and eyes, the first toggles, the options that you see will control both. And then when you get to the next toggle options, it will do individuals. So what do I mean by that? So this says left eye. So when you change the colors, it is changing both. But if you scroll down to right eye, it will change just the right eye. Okay. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you want opposite eye colors or opposite brow colors or whatever it is, you will be dealing with the left eye first. You'll be dealing with that left eye first, but it will change both colors. And that's just to make it easier if you are just doing the same color on both sides. But I did want to give that option for heterochromia and things like that if you wanted it. And then we got pupil toggles, and that's going to be the same. Like I said, whatever you change on the left will do it to both. Then when you get down to right, you can make it opposite if you want. And I tried to give as many options as I can, and even turn off the eyeball if you want. And so the only one that doesn't turn both eyeballs off is the very last, when you do the pupil and it just gets rid of the eye. Then you have to do it on both sides. So makeup, this will do both sides, but you'll see it's only showing on the right. It's because makeup does not show up on the skull. So if you're doing like a scaly model or something like this, and you're like, why ain't the makeup working? That would be because the makeup only shows up on the skin. So just kind of keep that in mind. Brow toggles. We only have one brow option right now, but you can see we have different options for eyebrows. or you could have no eyebrows. Here, we have our dividers. This is dealing with the left eyebrow, so anything we do, because we don't have a left eyebrow, anything we do, probably by the time I upload this and y'all are looking at it, I will have fixed all these. But if you come across anything that has like left and is actually operating the right, I swear I know my left from my right. I think I do. So I apologize for that. This is a little cut in the eyebrow, so it will change where it's placed. You can make the cut wider or thinner, and you can even rotate it if you want it to go a certain way. You'll see that kind of rotates it. So lots of options if you want to do something like that. We also have a piercing option. Most everything has piercing options. So you'll see we have our little stud piercing. You can change where it sits on the eyebrow. And of course, change the color. And we have our cut for a right eyebrow because we don't have a right eyebrow, or technically a left eyebrow. Because we don't got one, none of these toggles will do anything. So obviously toggles ain't going to work if you don't have something showing up there. Mouth toggles. These are great. These are great. So you have two mouth options. Half of our mouth is missing, but you can kind of see what we're talking about here. So this is the standard mouth. And this is the like ooh, like 3 mouth right here. Let me scroll back up. So this is our ooh mouth. Default mouth. Okay. Jaw option. This literally will turn the jaw off, which can be helpful if you just don't want the bottom jaw, or like you don't like having those teeth there, so you can just pop that off if you don't want a bottom jaw no more. Same thing with all the teeth. If you just don't want any teeth, you can get rid of that. This is normally for folks who keep the skin on, who aren't showing the skeleton. If you just don't like having the teeth option, that's what that's for. Tooth lines. That's exactly what it sounds like. This one is more for the folks who are going full skelly mode and they want tooth lines. I mean, you could do it with skin, but I imagine it looks better without the skin to have those little tooth lines. And tooth style will change the line art of the teeth. So like this. So we got like more rounded and more sharp. And they work without the tooth lines as well. So sort of just whatever you like. And we have fangs. The fangs start off pretty big. You have a normal fang, and we have a broken fang. And you can do left and right. So you can change both sides however you want. And then you can change the size of them as well with this slider. You'll also notice that now that we have fangs, the mouth is actually clipping through on the skin. And we have an adjustment here at the bottom that you can make the mouth wider so it doesn't clip through. And you can just adjust that however you need. Like that. Okay. We have bottom fangs as well. So if you want an undercut, an underbite, you absolutely can do that. And you'll notice that the fangs change where they sit based on, or the teeth change where they sit based on how many teeth you're putting there. And again, you'll just want to adjust that mouth depending on how much stuff you got going on. Lip line, if you want to change the color of the lips, if you don't want it the same color as like the skin line, you absolutely can change that. So that's an option there. Inner mouth is going to be this piece right here. That sort of gray area. Which when we get to where you have half skin, you may just want to change it to be the same color as the skin line. So that's what I'm going to do. And I just sort of eyeballed it. But again, if you're having trouble getting to the same color, you can always scroll up to the top and copy those values and paste them in here to get the exact number. For me, I want to turn the tongue off, but the tongue options are pretty simple. You can keep it there or you can turn it off. And then of course you can change the colors as well. So you have all kinds of options there. Nose toggles. I'm going to turn the skin back on real fast so we can look a little closer at the nose. So with nose toggles, we have a few different options. you can actually go back and you'll see we've got like the little dots here, which is great for the skeleton. You also just turn the nose off if you don't want a nose. And then you can see all the different nose options we have here. Since we're doing a half skin, I want to see what looks good with our half skin. Maybe a little triangle nose, little pointy nose. And then, of course, we have the nose color, which is going to be the line art of the nose in case you want that to be different. And then we have the tip color. So we have a little fill in here if you want to make the tip of the nose look a little different. That can be nice too. We have a piercing toggle. So you can put a little septum piercing in there if you want. Change your color, do what you want with that. Ears. This is always fun. So I tried to add as much customization as I could in the ears because I feel like ears on a model like this, on like goblins and fairies and elves and imps and stuff, the ears are very important, right? They're a very important piece. So we can change the length. You can make them pretty long. Change the length. You can even make them shorter, which almost makes it look human. Almost. We can change the width. So you can make them more chunky, more narrow. Really experiment with your options here and make your ears look however you want. And you can also change the placement. So you can make them higher or you can make them lower, which the lower option looks a little strange on the skeleton, I think, but it kind of floats there, so it has its own charm. You can change the inner color of the ear if you want. If you want that to be a different color, you absolutely can. You can mess around with that. Now, as far as toggles for the ears, each ear has multiple toggles. So we're going to start with the left ear, right? You have an option between two different cutout shapes. There's a triangle or a circle, okay? And you get 3 different cutouts. So you can have up to 3 different cutouts in your ear. You can change where it sits. So you can rotate it around the ear wherever you want it. You can change the height of it, make it taller or shorter. And you can change the width of it, make it wider or more narrow. So really, and you can combine these however you like. So you can have, cutouts wherever you want. They can go over top of each other or next to each other or however you want. So there's a lot of customization for how your actual individual ears will look based on just the cutouts already. But then also you have earring toggles, and each ear gets the option for 3 different earrings. You have the option between a base and a flare. So what that means, base is what the general shape of the earring is, and flare is just like the little gem or jewel or piece that is sitting on that base. So for example, we have a stud earring, we have a hoop earring, we have a little dangling earring, and we have a industrial bar. Okay, so for the base, you'll see we have 10 different options for studs. So if we just scroll through, you can see we start with this little triangle type. We get a skull, diamond, X, star, heart, bone, bow, just a little standard stud, one of those little chunky boys, a little teardrop looking one. Okay, so there's all of our little options. And it's kind of the same for all of them. Now, not every base has every single option, right? So like the hoop, you'll see kind of it has some stuff. Sometimes it's blank, like that's the bone option. So we don't have a bone option for the hoop, but we do for the dangle, we do for the stud, and we do for the industrial. And so you can kind of just see, like, if you find a flare that you like let's say you really like this X, you can really kind of go through the options and see how it looks. The one that has the least amount of flare is going to be the industrial earring. So most of them are going to look like this. You have a bone and then you have a chain. You can change where it sits. So the placement, you can kind of put this wherever feels right for you. Base color is going to change everything. It's going to change the base and the flare, right? And then if you want to change let's not make that green. And then if you want to change the flare, then you have a separate flare that will change that color to whatever it is you want. So you can see kind of how that works. So I'm just going to add another earring. I'm going to add an industrial. I'm going to change it to the bone, I think. Show you kind of the placement of how the bone or the industrial in general works. So if you go right, it will tilt it. You see that? It tilts it and pushes it over. If you go left, it keeps it the same and pushes it over. So that's kind of how the placement works on that. If we change that to the chain, you'll see it kind of does the same thing. You can put that chain wherever you like. So that's the ear toggle. I'm going to speed through the right ear and do it again. One thing I forgot to mention too, if you mess with the base color and like the base brightness and saturation, when you go to change the color of the flare, you'll notice that the saturation and brightness is the same as the base. To change that, all you got to do is turn on the brightness or the saturation and start messing with it, and it will automatically overwrite that saturation or brightness setting. So if you're like, this is not as bright as I thought it would be, that would be why. We do have horn options. You can have up to 2 horns, and to turn it on, you start with the color. So you pick a color for the horn and the horn will appear. And you can change all kinds of stuff about the horn. So you can make it longer or shorter. You can change the width of the base, so that'll make it bigger or shorter in the base, you see. And you can also change the width of the tip. So however you like it there. So if you like kind of a more rounded horn, maybe something kind of cute and short like that, you could do. Or if you want something more pointy and deadly looking, then you can do that. Lots of options. Then you have the placement. So X placement is going to move it left or right. So you can move it left or right. And yes, it can go outside of your body. But that's because I wanted y'all to be able to move this wherever you want. So like, let's say we want this here. Maybe we want to bring it down a little bit. So the Y placement up and down. Bring it down a little bit. And then we also want to rotate it because we want it, along the side of the head, so you can rotate it as well and kind of mess with where that sits. You see how that looks. The horns are definitely not perfect by any means. So just keep that in mind when doing it. It is very experimental. It is my first time trying to do a customizable on horns like this, where you can just place it wherever you want. But I think overall, it kind of gets the point across. Hair. Oh boy. Let's get into hair. The all hair control, if you're going to mess with it right now, nothing works. It's because you don't got no hair. But what this will do is it will change the color of all the hair that you do put on your head. So start by just adding like a short hair, something that you can see. You can see you have a bunch of different options here. But just add something if you want to figure out your color first. On the short hair, you have some that hugs the skin real tight like this. Okay. And then you also have more styles with more volume in it. So you can kind of look through and find whatever style you like here. Let's say you like this hair. You can change the length of it. So you can make it go up higher or make it a little bit shorter if you want. You can change the width so it cones out or pushes in. You can change the height. Now, the height is where it sits on your forehead, where the edge line is. So you just kind of change where it sits. And yes, be very mindful of how you put things. The reason this can push up so high is because you can add bangs, and I wanted y'all to be able to push things wherever you want so that it looks proper. So you definitely have a lot to work with when it comes to these hairstyles. Your imagination really truly is the limit. I typically like to start with this hairstyle because it sits on the scalp and gives me kind of a baseline while messing with the different toggles. If at any point you want a different color for the piece that you're working on than what you have for everything else, so if you want highlights or you want whatever, like let's say you want this base color on your short hair to be different, you can absolutely change that to be whatever you want. Again, the color is going to stay the saturation and brightness of the master controls up here. So if you want it to be a different brightness or saturation, you'll have to mess with that. Cowlicks, because I don't know how to say or spell the Japanese word. They are cowlicks. We have your texture toggle, so that's going to be the different styles, the different ways that it can look. So you'll see we have this little guy, little heart one, and a little curly Q. And like everything, you can change the length, so you can make it taller or shorter. You can change the width, wider or more narrow. And you can change the height, so that's where it's going to sit on the scalp again. So you can push it up higher or lower. And again, having it float over your head is important because depending on the different things that you stack, you may not be able to see it, so you'll want to push it up a little bit higher. Middle bang toggles, and this is going to be just lather, rinse, repeat on everything. So our middle bang toggles, texture, going to change the way it looks. I'm going to change the color of this, or rather, I'm going to change the saturation of this so that we can see a little better. And you can just kind of go through and pick whatever texture you like. So like, let's say you like this. You can change the length, make it shorter or longer, and yes, you can cover up your whole face with it. You can change the width. Again, you can literally just cover your whole face with the hair if you want. So you can mess with that. Another texture toggle here. And you'll notice too, once we put stuff in, it'll start messing with the horns as well. So it'll cover up the horns. You can kind of see how everything starts to operate together. Say like this back, we want it to have that texture again. Because we're like, oh, this is a little bit too smooth based on what we have up front. Absolutely, you can go back and mess with things and get the kind of texture that you're looking for. So you can see where having something like this and maybe changing the height so it's a little lower, or changing the length so it's a little closer together there. You can see how this may start having more of a purpose. We have frame and bang, so that's going to be on the either side of your cheeks. So if you wanted something there, you absolutely could. And we have a bunch of different options there as well. And you can change the height. And this part you ain't going to see very well, so I'm going to change the color real quick so you can kind of see it a little better. So you see here in the corner, you see it's poking out. So the height is going to help with that, whether you want it showing or not. There's also a physics toggle because you can see it kind of moves around. But let's say you wanted this to be like more like sideburns. You absolutely could do that, except it's kind of moving around. It's kind of wobbling about. So this right here is the physics bangs to sideburns, which is exactly what it sounds like. When you turn it all the way over, there's no more physics on it. It doesn't wobble around. It'll stay stuck to your head as if it's sideburns. So that's how you would get sideburns on this model. Now we have two different options for what you can do for the back of your hair, or like the next part of your hair, right? So we have the hair back toggles, which is exactly what it sounds like. It'll give you long hair. So you can choose a texture that you like for the back. You can change, of course, the length. I mean, you can make it real long. If you want it extending past your leggies, you can make it super short if you want more short hair. And like all the other things, you can change the width. You can change the height, so how high it sits up on your head, or if you want it lower. And you can, of course, change the colors if you want anything different, or make it darker, or however you want to do. You can really customize this so that you can see everything the way you like. Or if you want a ponytail, we have a ponytail option. It says hair updos. It's ponytails or pigtails are the options. You need both texture and style on in order to see everything. So like this is going to be a straight hair updo. I'm going to change the brightness and saturation so that we can see it a little better. We have the ponytail. We have a side pony, which you can see kind of is a little wonky, but and then you got just like that. So you can have a side pony on one side, you can have pigtails, or you can have side pony on that side. And they look really thick right now with this this texture. You can change that by changing the width here. And you see that looks a little better like that. For the texture, we also have braids. So there's two different braids, which can be kind of hard to see, so I'm going to change that again to the side pony here. So you have a long braid and you have a short braid. And then, of course, you can change the length of that even still and the width. You can change the placement, so you can make it go up higher on the head or a little bit lower. And that works for any of the hairstyles. So you can see here, and bring the braid up higher or lower. Now, if you do decide to use the braids, there is a tie color, and that is for the braid tie. So if you go back to the braid real quick, oh, that's the style. We go back to the braid real quick. You can see in the back, I'm going to change it to the side pony just so we can look at it. You can change the color of the hair piece there. it's time to do the hair on your face. If you want mustaches or beards, I did my absolute best to come up with some mustache and beard toggles. There's a couple different mustache options. You can change, of course, the length, the width, and the height. So depending on where you want it sitting, you can have it sit however. And then you can change, of course, the color. And we have the beard. We turn that on. Beard looks a little strange with the skeleton. I don't know how many y'all are going to be trying to do a beard and skeleton at the same time. But this is an option here. And like everything else, you can make it longer or shorter. You can change the width. It looks a little strange on the short, but you can see here where it makes a difference. You can kind of see how that looks without all that. It's my first time taking a crack at a beard. I think it works relatively well. I definitely have some notes for how I would change things in the future, but that is an option there. Markings. So these are going to be the markings on your face, okay? You have the option to turn paint on or off on the skull. So you'll notice here, so left cheek toggle is actually the right cheek, so I'll have to fix that. But left cheek toggle. Okay, so you can kind of choose a paint that you like. And like all things, you can change the color. And then right cheek toggle here. We don't have that cheek anymore because it's a skull, right? So it's actually going to show up right here, and it's going to be hard to see because it shows up as white. So like here, you can barely even tell that it's there. So if you just change the color to something you can see, and then you can kind of go through the different options if you want some paint on your skull. You absolutely can do that. And that's how it works for everything. Now, the forehead we can't see because I put bangs on, but there is a forehead option, and actually I'll show y'all with the bridge, with the nose bridge option here, which is very hard to see. I'm just going to make it completely dark. So you'll see there where it shows up on the skull and on the skin. If you didn't want it showing on the skull and just a little bit on the skin, that's where this toggle up here comes into play, and it will turn off all of the skull paintings, and you only have painting on the skin. So if you are a ghoul and you only want markings on the skin part of the ghoul, that's what this toggle is for. Scars, scars, scars. You can add scars to your model. I'm going to make this really dark just so that we can see it. Scars can be placed anywhere. So you can change the size of it. You can make it bigger or smaller. You can rotate it so that it sits however you want. And then you can place it anywhere on the skin. You can also place it on the skull, but you'll see because we have the skull option turned off, it don't show up. It's only showing up on the skin. If we scroll back up to the top here and we allow skull paint, it'll also allow the scars on the skull. If you want scars, there's a few different options for scars. If I push this over so you can kind of see the different options. So we have a small X, big X. We have this sort of more of a squiggly line and more of a straight line. And you can have up to 3 scars, I believe. Yes, 3 scars on the face. These are the markings for your arms. So we have our left arm paint, and you can have a ton of different options here. So let me kind of push this over so you can see that a little better. So you'll see we have a ton of options for arm paint. And you only get 1 paint on each arm, but you can change how big it is. So, I'm between paints there. So you can make it bigger or smaller. You can rotate it however you want it to sit. And then, of course, you can bring it wherever on the arm that you like it. Can have 1 paint option and 1 scar option. Body scar is the same deal. Turn it on, move it around, do what you want with it. You get 1 scar option on the body, but no paint options. There are 2 different ways to make clothes. There is a custom clothes toggle, and that is going to be one that you draw yourself in the texture atlas. And I'll show y'all how that works in a minute. But if you do decide to draw your own clothing in the texture atlas, this is the part that you would turn on. So you see here, right now, it's just a bunch of dots because that is going to be your reference when you're drawing your clothing. If you take it all the way to the end, you'll see my example where I drew in clothes using the texture atlas. And you'll be able to do something like this. So if you have a very specific clothing in mind that you want to do, then you'll want to use the texture atlas. You'll want to draw over this and make your clothing however you want it to look. I will just go ahead and tell y'all now, I am not the best at drawing clothing. I ain't the best at drawing people in general, like humanoids in general. So the way I decided to do this is a little bit unconventional. In order to make clothing, I'm letting y'all basically cut out and customize clothing however you want. So you do it in layers. Think about like how you dress yourself in the morning, right? You put your first layer of clothing on, then your second, then your third, right? So you'll have your undergarments, your pants, your shirt, your jacket, right? So the first layer is here. When you turn this on, it is just the torso. It ain't the arms, but the arms are the same way. But you'll see here, you have like sort of a bodysuit, like a little jumpsuit going on, right? Then here you can change the width of it, so you can make it wider or thinner, which obviously the thinner looks strange here, but if you have like a skeleton body or like, half skelly going on, that's where the thinner option is helpful. And we have what's called the half cut. So as you go down, see how it's turning into pants or even boots, and then it comes back around. So then you can bring it up so you have like a shirt, which kind of helps you with visualizing how you want that to sit. When you're doing this, think about how you put your clothes on. So you want to put the first thing on first, which I would say for this would be your pants. And you can do pants and boots the same, or you can do, shoes and then pants and then shirt. So let's do shoes. Pick a color for your shoes, which actually I kind of like. Just some gray shoes sound great. You'll see. Got your little shoes there. And then we have our cutout toggle. So even though we've already cut it in half, we still have more options for cutouts. So let's say you want like an open toe shoe. Now, right now you can't see the different cutout options. So just put it to like here and then use the Y placement until you start seeing stuff, right? And then you can kind of push this over. It's like, okay, we have like little open toe booty there. And you can do that over here as well. Now, each layer has 2 cutout options. Okay, so you have a half cut and then 2 cutout options. So let's do the same thing that we just did. Bring this down and bring it over so we can have our little open socks. You can change the length and the width like always. So really you can get very creative with your cutout options. Now we're on the second layer and you see it says goes over first layer. So let's say we want to make our pants. And you can change the opacity too, which can be very helpful if you want something that is like sort of sheer. You kind of see through it. So if you wanted like stockings that were under the shoes, obviously you do the stockings first. But you can really get very creative with how you make your clothing. So let's do a half cut and do our pants. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I want the pants to be over the shoes, but there's like too much over the shoes. We have a cutout option that helps with that. Let me change the color of the pants so that we have a better idea of what we're doing. I'm just going to give them some blue jeans, which I know it's a goblin. There's like, why are you giving a goblin blue jeans? Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. Just so that we can kind of see what we're doing a little better. So our cutout option, we'll bring that circle back here again, just so I can show you all the different cutout options. So it's a circle right now. There is a triangle, and then there's this, which is like a sort of rugged cutout look. So really, if we want to do some Daisy Dukes, we absolutely could. Let's change the width out. Some ripped up jeans or skirt, however you would want to call that, like that, if you wanted to. And there's also a straight edge. So you can really just have a straight edge if you want. So you got some pants kind of like that. If you wanted the top part to have a different sort of cut to it, you absolutely could. If you wanted it to have that sort of rugged look on top, that is a rectangle. There you go. You can kind of do something like that and change the width out a little bit if you wanted it to be more cut out. If you wanted like something a little special, you can absolutely change. You can rotate this. You could do like a little side cutout if you wanted to. So if you wanted to get real fancy with it, you can make like a little cutout like that if you wanted something fancy, whatever you can think of, you really can make with this. So then you have your third layer, which would be your shirt. There you go. Just basic red shirt, so y'all can kind of see what's going on. And our cutout. So if you want it to have like a crew cut, you could absolutely do like a little crew cut. If you wanted it to be, V-neck, you can do a little V-neck. You can do like a little belly shirt, or however you want. Make it a little wider too, why don't we? So it kind of looks more shirt-like. And you have a fourth layer. Just in case you want something else going on, you absolutely can add another one. So like, let's say we want a jacket. So if you wanted to make a jacket, the best way would be to use the square cutout, in my opinion. Or the jagged, the textured one if you want something with textured edges, right? And then rotate it to about there. Change where it sits. So we'll make it there. We'll bring this down. You can see we kind of have a jacket already. So just kind of mess around with these options however you want. Until you get what it is you're looking for. Of course, right now it looks more like a vest because we don't have any sleeves. So we have used up all of our torso toggles. And we are at the left arm. So we can turn on the left arm. And basically do the same thing. You get two layers on each arm. You get 4 layers on the torso. So I'm just going to make the jacket part real quick. Okay, and you'll see this is kind of how I built the clothing on this. It's very simple, but it is quite helpful if you just kind of want to play around with shapes and see what you can make. And it kind of gives you the freedom to make something if you don't have access to a drawing program or whatever it is. This kind of gives you more options, I felt like, because again, I'm not the best at drawing clothing. So I kind of demonstrated to you can make gloves and sleeves and stuff like that. And for those y'all with drawing software or who wants to know how to draw their own clothing and import it into this, I'm going to have different timestamps on this video so you can skip forward to the texture atlas to see how that works. I'm going to do that after I finish going through all these parameters, but rest assured there is even more ways to add your own clothing in here. We actually have some more toggles before we get to that point. So here are tail toggles. So we have you can hardly see it. So let me change the angle because we have some pretty big hair here. So I'm going to change the angle of the tail to be over here so that we can see that while I'm looking over here. Okay, so this is just our basic sort of tail. There's nothing on it, no crazy colors or nothing. There's 2 different tail options. You have the sort of skin, like tail with the skin on it, and then you have a bone tail. And the bone tail is going to already be the colors of the skeleton that you chose. So if you want a skeleton tail, that's absolutely an option. If you want just like a regular sort of thin tail, that is an option as well. Those are the only 2 types of tails at this moment. So I apologize if you were looking for something else. Though there are some tail tips. So you can do this sort of shape, which this kind of looks almost like a fishtail, like a fin, but you can actually change the placement of the tip so that it comes forward and is more of like a fur tip at the end. So that is an option where it sits on the tail. You can absolutely change that. We have this sort of upside down heart or spade shape. Again, you can change how it sits. And this sort of cloverish tail, 3-leaf clover tail. And again, you can change where it sits. So those are your options for tail tips if you want. And again, they work with either type of tail, so you can mix and match however you want. And then the tail color is going to be for this part of the tail when it ain't a skeleton. So you can change the color however you want. Brightness however you want. saturation, however you want. And then you have the secondary tail color. So that's going to be the tip of the tail. So those are the tails that you absolutely can have if you want some tails. And there are wings. Now you can change the left wing or the right wing. I'm going to turn the tail off so that we can see the wings a little bit. Oh, I got to turn the tip off separately. I didn't know the tip would just float around on its own. So there's that if you want it. Okay. We have the right wing, which is actually the left wing, so I need to change that. There are two different wing options, and I just realized they're actually sitting behind the hair, so I'll have to fix that as well. But you'll see we can change from a demon sort of style, like dragon style wing, bat wing, whatever you want to call it, to a feathered angel type wing. Those are the two types of wings you can choose. If you choose the bat wing, you can also change the opacity of it so that it is actually more like a bone wing if you are going for the full skelly or ghoul type thing. So like, let's say you wanted this to be the sort of bone look to it. Oh, that's going to be the inside color. We want the line color. So we have a bone wing on one side, and then you can change the other side to be a regular demon wing, or if you wanted a feather wing, you could have a feather wing. So you can kind of really mess around with the different options in here to get something very custom and unique to you. You could make the wings opaque, so they're kind of see-through if you wanted to, or you can make them totally solid. So yeah, those are some wing options that you have, and that is all of it. That is all the customization options in here. And as I've gone through this, I see there's a few things I need to adjust before I post this. So the things that I made note of while we were going through this should hopefully be fixed and patched by the time that y'all are watching this. Okay, so let's say this is our model. This is perfect. This is exactly everything that I wanted, and I'm ready to save it. So you remember we named this my model. So once you have everything perfect how you want it, you can just go ahead and click save. Okay, and you'll see here we have mymodel.exp3.json. That is some fancy words for saying, hey, we saved all the stuff you did. There's 272 parameter options that we chose from in here, but they are ready for us. So we are going to click on this button right here that says create new hotkeys for all unused expressions. That means this has not been used yet. I want a hotkey for it, so I'm going to say select. We'll create a new hotkey for the expression, and you say okay. So there it is. You can record a keybind. So I'm going to just do number 1. And then when we press number 1, boom, you watch everything come together. You get a little magical girl transformation there. And yeah, it's there every time. And you can put this as a keybind. You can do it as a stream deck button, whatever it is you want to do, and that will be there. Because of this option, you can make multiple outfits. You can do all kinds of stuff, change the hair, and it will cycle through everything for you however you want. So that is how that works. Now that you have an idea of what all parameters are in there and how all that works, let's jump over to the texture atlas, and I'm going to show y'all how to make custom clothing. So the folder that you imported the model to get it into VTube Studios, you'll want to go to that. So this customizable goblin model in the Live2D models folder. You're going to click on that, and then you'll see a whole bunch of stuff in here. But what we're looking for is this right here. This is your texture folder. Okay, so it's Goblin 1638.4. Okay, there's one texture atlas in here. Before we go to edit this, we're going to right click in this folder and add a new folder. And we're going to call this our custom textures. Custom texture. Now, if you're going to have multiple outfits that you make custom, you're going to want to make multiple folders for this so that you don't overwrite anything, because the name of the texture has to be the same. So we're going to copy this texture, open this folder, and paste it right there. I would recommend using a program that has layers to edit this, because if you try to do this in Paint, it could get very wonky, and I also don't know that it will export it with a transparent background. And if you don't have a transparent background, this is going to get real messy real fast. So I use Clip Studio's Paint. If you don't have access to Clip Studio's Paint or you need a free program, I would recommend using Krita if you need a free program to get this done. It is absolutely free and it works like a charm. It will literally get everything done that you need to do. So yeah, there's a bunch of really great tools in Krita. It's just as good and powerful as PowerPoint or Clip Studio's Paint. So highly recommend. Okay. Now open up your drawing software, whether that's going to be Krita or Clip Studio's Paint. For me, it is Clip Studio's Paint. So let me open that up. And then I'm going to take this in our custom texture folder, this texture 00, and drag it and drop it right in here. Now you can see it's very difficult to see what's going on because it is transparent. So we are going to add a new layer. Make sure it's dragged to the bottom. Pick a color that you like. I like doing sort of a grayish color. Grabbing the paint bucket tool over here and just fill in the background with a gray color so I can actually see what's going on. Now, if you want to, you technically could edit anything in this texture atlas. Everything that you edit will directly affect how the model looks when you go back to it. So like if you wanted to change the shape of the hair, for example, you could technically take an eraser and just erase parts of it and it would be erased on the actual model. Similarly, you could go and start drawing stuff on the model, and that would show up when you load the texture atlas back up. Now, I will say this. The way that I made this model, all of these layers are white because I used Live2D's color wheel function, or like the multiply and screen functions, to change the color of everything. So if you change the texture here on any of these pieces, I cannot guarantee how it will look when you actually load it up in VTube Studio. So just kind of keep that in mind, that while yes, this is customizable, it ain't perfect and you may see some results that you weren't expecting. The part that is fully customizable that you can draw on is down here. So I have 2 rows here so that it kind of helps you out. These 3 down here is what your finished product should look like when you're done. But up here, this is where you get to customize what you want, okay? So there's 2 outlines. There's a bounding box, which is going to be this blue outline around each side. That is as far as you can draw. Okay, that's as far as you can draw that will show up on the model. And then you have this sort of lighter blue outline on the inside. That tells you where the body parts are, so you know where it is that you're drawing and what it is you're drawing over. Before you start drawing, I recommend you make another layer so that you're not drawing directly on the texture and then you have to deal with the dotted lines and realizing that you drew on the same layer. Let's just draw something real simple that we can easily see. So I'm just going to use this green, this lovely, lovely green, and make like a little dress. And again, you can go as far close to the bounding box as you want. As long as you don't go past it, it will show up on the model. Okay, that is lovely, super bright, totally noticeable. Can't miss it. I'm just going to draw a smiley face in the middle because why not? You can literally do whatever you want. Anything that you don't draw is going to be invisible. It's going to be transparent. So if you want to do cutouts, you absolutely could do little cutouts on your dress and make it very fancy. And yeah, just go crazy with it. Do what you want. Make it as pretty as you want. And you can be detailed too. I mean, if you've got a whole outfit in mind, you can really draw the entire outfit just like you would a picture. Just draw it out however you like. And then when you get back into the studio, into VTube Studios, it will show. Once you have whatever it is that you like let's say this is just piece de resistance, this is exactly what you wanted. You go ahead and click on this texture layer here, grab your lasso tool, and just go over this part here and delete it so that it is no longer there. If you don't delete that, it will show up in the model. So you're going to have those little dotted lines everywhere, and that is not what we want. So if you press Control D on the keyboard, it will deselect the area. Or you can just click anywhere and it will let go. Now let's say you want your dress to be sleeveless. Let's say you don't want any sleeves. You still need to delete these bounding boxes over here. Otherwise it'll show up when you choose the custom outfit option. So make sure you either draw on this, whatever it is you're going to draw, or whatever it is that you do, make sure you delete all of these bounding boxes. So I'm going to just draw something very simple here, like maybe like a watch, and say that's all I want there. Cool. So I'll go ahead and delete that. And then let's say on this arm, I don't know, I'll make a little squiggly line. Just enough so that y'all can kind of see what's going on. So we'll do like a whatever that is. Never said I was a designer, okay? Just showing you how everything works. So this is what it would look like when you're done. I know it looks kind of goofy because I don't know how to draw outfits, but this is just so that y'all can see how it works. Make sure before you save this, you either hide this back layer or delete it altogether. That way we have our transparent background, and then we just go ahead and save. Make sure, again, you aren't saving over this file. You want to save it over a custom texture file right here. So we're just going to click that. It's going to give you a warning. Yes, I want to save it. Let's jump back to our folder. I'm going to rename this. We don't want anything to write over itself. I'm going to rename this to texture 01. And then in my custom textures, I'm going to pull this out and put it in here, which seems kind of silly, but trust the process. Okay. Whatever is saying it is texture 00, that is the texture it's going to read. That is our main file. Anything else, it won't read. So that's why we want to keep this name. That's why we make the other folder so that things don't write over each other, and we know what's going on. Okay, so we are going to go to settings, go to the little plus button here, click on hotkey actions. In the search bar, you can start typing texture. You'll see reload model texture. You'll want to have that there so that anytime you move things in and out of the folder, let's just say you set this up while VTube Studios was open, you'll want to just go ahead and make a keybind for this and reload the texture. Okay, so you saw that it kind of hung up for a second and then nothing really changed. That's because we don't have the custom outfit on. So we'll go to the expression editor and create a new expression. And very quickly look for our clothing area. So here is our custom clothes toggle. So with any luck, this should work. And there it is, our custom outfit that we made. And of course the other one's there too. And technically you can draw over this too. If you want to make 2 outfits, you absolutely can draw over this. It's got the same bounding as the other one. So yeah. So that's how you would draw your own custom outfit, however you like. And again, you can get as creative as you want with that. So have at it. So that is everything there is. Just you would save this however you want. If you already had your model made up, then you could just change the clothing to have this here, and then you would have it there, and you can save it however you want. If you have any questions at all, I know there is so much to this model, like a ridiculous amount of things going on in there. So please do not hesitate to reach out. Comment down below, ask your question. You're probably not the only person with that question. So if you just want to comment it, that way other folks can see it and we can all learn together, that'd be good. But if you made it this far, thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.